Okay, awesome. What's up, everybody? So this is a deal that I've been working on. It's actually in Weehawken, New Jersey. It's especially cool because it is, I mean, you throw a rock and you're at the entrance to the Lincoln Tunnel. It's 8 units, currently owned by a contractor. As per him, it's newly renovated from the roof all the way down to the sewer line. The only information that I have from him is that he grosses 180,000 a year. It's five one-bedroom units, three two-bedroom units, and he wants 2 million bucks for it. That's pretty much all the information I have. Entertaining it because he is pretty communicative. I mean, he picks up the phone when I call him, and he sounds, ready to go if I could get to that 2 million number.
Purchase price he wants is what?
2 million bucks.
Okay, due diligence and civil is probably not going to cost me 50. Let's put 25 grand. Syndication fee, I'm going to do 0 for now. Closing cost is probably going to be somewhere, I'm going to say 100, depending on what my loan amount is, but it'll probably be less than 100, but just going over for now. Multifamily, I could probably get a 30-year loan probably without an issue. Interest rates, let's just say 6.25. To be conservative, let's say I'm going to get 75% loan to value, which we'll play around with as time goes on. IO, which means interest only. We're probably not going to get IO. We'll probably do an amortizing loan. This is only if we're going to plan to refi, which that's not going to be the plan. Let's get rid of the renovation budget. Let's say we're going to sell it for a 7 cap in the future. 20, by the way, this is end of quarter. So these are quarters, 20 quarters. That means 5 years. Typically, when I'm looking at evaluating a property, again, I'll always do 20 quarters, typically a 5-year hold. But we'll play around with this later on. You'll see where the deal ends up. Now let's move over to.
Before you move over, before you move on, Henry, on the IO versus the amortization loan, what can you expand a little bit more on that?
More likely than not, you're not going to see interest-only loans all that commonly. When you're doing like small multifamily deals, like you're probably not, right? And if you are, you're going to try to get, you might be able to do 7.5% interest only versus 6.25% with amortization on it. Obviously, when you're trying to do interest only loans, it's obviously beneficial because you're coming less out of pocket. Obviously though, what's interesting though, the only thing that really changes with interest only loans versus amortized, which obviously you're paying down principal when you're amortizing the loan. The only thing that really changes, because your internal rate of return actually doesn't change because your principal that you're like over a 5-year period of time, it actually you don't see much of a change in your internal rate of return, shockingly. So it really is just beneficial for cash flow purposes upfront, right? So if you'd like to squeeze cash flow quickly, it's a very, very positive thing to do, of course. If they offer you interest only, I always take it. However, there's a lot of cases where if you talk to a lot of very, very sophisticated, very like seasoned investors that have been in the game now for 30 years, right? And they own a freaking ton of real estate, they will typically tell you just to amortize it because they hold everything for 30 years and it doesn't matter. But for somebody like me where I need cash flow today, right? I would really like some more cash flow, like squeezing an extra $1,000 or $2,000 in cash flow per deal adds up, right? When I only have like a dozen properties, if I can squeeze an extra $1,000 or $2,000 per deal, it really helps me right now. Like obviously I like to make an extra few, like 10 or 20 or $30,000 in cash flow. Now, obviously when I'm, 50 years old and I have 700 properties, an extra few $1,000s a month in cash flow is not going to matter. It just depends on where somebody's at in their career. Right now, it matters, and also it's very, very normal for you to have amortizing loans. You might have 1 year of interest only, or maybe a few years, like, it's common to maybe do a year. Especially with multifamily, you can sometimes squeeze out a year pretty easily with interest only loans if you just ask your bank, but also, just to be conservative, I always run it as amortizing. All right, so studios 1s, 2s, what's the breakdown, my friend?
We've got 5 1s and 3 2s, if I'm not mistaken.
Square footage really isn't that important, doesn't change anything. Let's just talk about what the income is currently. What's the monthly income?
I did my best to work backwards from the 180 gross that he told me. So I've got the rent for a 1 bedroom. Doing the math backwards is 1,570. You call it 1,580, and for each 2 bedroom, call it 2,370 a month.
And these are rough estimates.
Rough, right? Me just trying to make up the math, working backwards from what I had as the gross.
Okay, well, based on your ballparking, let's just say we're gonna right now. If that's what we have, that's what we have. Let's go to what about pro forma? What do you think we can get a 1-bedroom rent to per unit?
Around there, I think we could definitely. I haven't looked at it yet, but I think we can. You could definitely push over 2,000. I mean, let's even conservatively, let's call it 2,000 bucks.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree.
And-
By the way, guys, best way to do it is you go to apartments.com or Zillow and you just
Yeah.
check very comparable buildings and see what they're renting out their one bedrooms for, or two bedrooms or studios or whatever they're looking at. So again, apartments.com or Zillow. Two bedrooms, what are you thinking?
Let's call it maybe 2350.
Well, it can't be less than what you have it right now.
Oh, I'm right. Let's call it 2500. Sorry about that.
If right now he's getting market rent, I mean, that's okay, right? Like you can just say that, like, in one quarter, we'll probably get it up 5%, which is roughly $2,500, right? Like, I think that's pretty fair, right? And I think Weehawken does have rent control.
Yeah, it's not, they do have some sort. It's not Union City, but they've got their own over there.
The way I look at it is this, okay? Number one, in this top right hand corner, let's just say we can do CPI, so let's just do 4%, or let's just try to be somewhere in that range of, because what it'll auto calculate is every year it'll grow by 4%. And then we're going to say that probably within the next, let's just say, let's do quarter 8 to 16, we're going to start creeping up to the 2000 range, okay? And then this one is 2500. Obviously, the first year, we're easily going to be able to get to that, so we're probably just going to do quarter 4, maybe do quarter 4 through 6. By the way, these are quarters. So what I'm estimating is at what reasonable time frame, conservatively, okay, being very, very conservative with my estimations, can I get to this range? At what is my conservative estimations of getting to this range? Now, 2 years to get to 2,000 across all 5 units is actually going to be pretty tough. I might even try to maybe do 12, 12 to 18, where it'll slowly creep up over the next, call it 3 to 4.5 years to be conservative, okay? The very first time I run the numbers, I want to, get some numbers on there that are fairly conservative, and then we'll play with them over time and kind of see where we kind of pencil out, okay? Let's quickly go to expenses. Let's go to expenses. Obviously, we're going to change some of these because this is super high. Property taxes.
22,059. That's what it was in 2023.
All right, we're going to do 23 grand.
If we want to add to it a bit.
Insurance.
Insurance, we have 5,000.
Do you have breakdown of utilities?
Water and sewer, I estimate 6,000. Property management, I have 8,000 for property management.
Don't worry about that. Next.
Maintenance and repairs, I had 7,000.
So what you'll do is maintenance and repairs. You can probably do something like, let's do $100 a unit, $100 a unit minimum per month, right? So it's not, let's just say 10 grand. I'm gonna round 10 grand a year.
Yeah, the truth is what I did was I took the taxes which I could find, and then I just did a 35% of what the gross income was, and just tried to finagle the numbers that way.
You're good. Don't worry about it. Okay, we're gonna do 3,000 for marketing, snow removal. We're probably gonna have to do at least.
I have a question on taxes.
Go for it.
Okay, so you're calculating when the loan officer looks at when he looks at this, he's gonna calculate it on the today's taxes, right? But let's say you're paid, you gotta pay more once you buy it.
A good loan officer who actually understands the game and knows, like, and is very seasoned, will call the township and ask how they reassess taxes.
So he will calculate how much you're gonna pay once you buy the property, right?
Correct.
With
A lot of towns will reassess immediately and some won't. Okay, so electric and gas, do the tenants pay that?
Yes.
It's very normal for our multifamilies for the tenants to pay electric. Gas is a coin flip. Sometimes there's the tenants pay for gas for their stoves, but they don't pay gas for their heat. So it's very different. Sometimes not always separately metered. So you'd obviously want to confirm, but let's just say, let's just put, I'm going to put under gas, but I'm just going to estimate for both. Let's just put maybe another $3,600. Replacement reserves. So the bank is going to take some money off for reserves. Let's take another maybe 12 grand. Okay, so let's start running some numbers. So now this is obviously a very conservative outlook. This is going to increase the expenses by 2% annually, just to kind of give us, everything's going to grow 2%, which I think is very fair. Obviously just taxes alone is obviously going to grow probably more than 2% a year. So I think that's very fair. Total expenses in your first year is 80 grand. So now if we go back, which now that we filled in the income, we filled in the expenses, we can go back to our summary page and we can start playing around with the numbers. So based on the fact that he wants $2 million and all the numbers have been plugged in over a 5-year period of time, I am going to have a negative 4% return on investment. I'm buying it at a day 1 5 cap. My price per unit is obviously screwy. Hold on. Oh, because it's off of 70. Let's do it off of 8. Yeah, I'm buying it at 250 grand a door. My cash on cash is less than 2%. So based on current purchase price, I'm probably going to say I'm actually going to be running at an operating deficit, so I won't even get a loan at 7. Because my debt service coverage ratio is only 0.9. I'm probably going to end up having to put more money down. So let's just try 60%. My debt service coverage ratio is at least positive, but not enough to get a loan. I'm probably going to have to put down more money. Let's try 55. I need to be above probably 125, so I guess I'll put down 50%. So based off of a $2 million number, I'm probably going to have to put down something close to 50% down. My cash and cash is, again, my cap rate's a 5. My internal rate of return is near 0, basically 0. Overall, this deal sucks because it's even saying that my future value based off of a 7 cap in 20 quarters or 5 years is only going to be worth 1.9 in change. So what that means is, obviously, let's start playing around with purchase price, because purchase price is the only thing that we can mess around with right now. I don't think we made too many assumptions that were too crazy. Maybe if we go to expenses real fast, let's say that we cut things down. Let's say the marketing we did 1,200. Let's say snow and landscaping. Let's say we did 1,200. Okay.
Trash removal, we might be able to shave some off. What do you think?
I mean, I don't think much, to be honest with you. Maybe we'll do 2,400. Let's say, let's say reserves we drop down to 6K. Let's say this we get down to 7,500. Everything else is basically required. Okay, we're still only at a 4.5 rate of return after 5 years. Our implied value is only 2.15 million. We're still buying it at a sub 6 cap. Cash and cash has grown a little bit. It's also positive as our debt service coverage ratio has grown. Now, the only thing, again, now that we can kind of work with, let's say we also get the closing cost down to like 75K. Let's say here, purchase price, where do we want to make an offer at? Let's try 1.5 million and just see where we pencil. Obviously, you can't go at 1.9. It's not really going to change anything, so we need to kind of start a little bit aggressively. So let's start here. So basically at 1.5, you're starting at a 7.5 cap. Cash and cash is fairly reasonable. I also like the fact that our price per unit is sub $200 or 200K a unit. I like that a lot. However, what's crazy to think about is my internal rate of return, which is the biggest thing that I care about. It's really IRR, like in ratios, like in check boxes, like what I care about most to next to next to next. Internal rate of return is number 1. Number 2, I like to look at cash on cash. Number 3 is cap rate. Also, we could do minimum balance for distribution, probably 50K, which will help a little bit with things. Yeah. But minimum balance for distribution, this is saying that I'm going to raise money, right? Like I'm going to raise $850,000 to buy this deal. And my internal rate, like I'm not going to give distributions out unless there's substantially more than 50,000 or any money above 50 grand in the checking account. Again, when you're doing a huge deal, right? Like you're doing a $20 million deal and your mortgage payments are, coming out like, again, look, my annual debt service is only 55K. I could have 50K in my bank account and be okay, right? Like, I might have to renovate something small. I might have to do a water heater. I want to have money for reserves, but I'm going to be okay with 50K. Doing a $20 million deal with all this other things, I might need a $500,000 in my checking account if you know what I mean? It just depends on the deal size. So keep that in mind. So overall, I'm looking for me personally, it looks like this deal is going to be a little bit tight, even at 1.5. I'm looking for an IRR substantially above 20, even though the cap rate's at 7.5. My first initial offer might be something like this, 1.2 million. I like it. I'm thinking at 1.2, I can probably make some good money. And hold on, I'm probably going to be able to get to a 70% loan. I can get better. I can probably get a 75% loan. I might even be able, probably 75 is probably going to be where I'm going to be at. Yeah, I mean, I think this deal makes a lot of sense overall. 150K a unit, check. My internal rate of return is spectacular. I'm buying it at a 9 cap day 1, even with my expenses, which I can start adding back a few things just to be, again, back to being a little bit more conservative. But that's probably where I'm going to pencil out here. Who has some questions on this? So, I mean, I would probably make an offer right now and be very comfortable at making an offer 1.2 million. The whole purpose of me making an offer at my $1.2 million purchase price is because I can probably sell it for more money immediately. Number 1, like we just talked about, if this guy wants $2 million, this guy wants $2 million. I'm number 1 running at an operating deficit. Okay. I can't get a loan unless I put down, like we talked about, substantially more money. I have to put down 40% here. I'm only at my internal rate of return over 5 years, which sure, if you want to just try to play the appreciation game, fine. My value will be 2.5 million after 5 years. You'll make 10% a year on your money. Okay, I mean, I'm not saying somebody won't do that. I'm just saying I won't do that.
Yeah, I get that. I get that loud and clear.
Sure, obviously these areas are going to have much higher appreciation plays, so maybe you can sell it later on at a 6 cap when everything's fixed up, everything's at max value, and you can try to get it when interest rates hopefully come down to sub 5s. Sure. But again, based off of 2 million, it's just that it's still a very, 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 very tight deal.
Spend time on it or don't spend time on it.
Look, pitch it out. I mean, like, look, I always will spend time on something. I will make a few phone calls to a few of my VIP guys, call up 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people who own properties in Weehawken in and around this market. Call up the most recent sales, whoever just bought something within the last 12 months, something similar between 5 and 15 units. Give them a holler and say, like, hey, I got a deal for you, 2 million bucks. I think I might be able to get the seller down to maybe 2.1. Is this something you might be open to? Right? At least take a look at the numbers and can you give me the best offer you possibly can? Call it a day based on their responses. They all come in at 1.7, 1.6, 1.5, 1.2, 1.8, or whatever it is, present all the offers and kind of say, hey, here's all the most local buyers in the marketplace who are ready to do something now. This is where they're all at. And maybe you get them to come down to 1.8. But after speaking to 5 people in the local market and they all say it's worth 1.5 or less, there's your number.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, okay, look, if you're still stuck at 2 million bucks, their motivation is what?
Or low.
Yeah, low.
Low motivation.
Non-existent. Their motivation is non-existent.
Right.
They have no motivation. You take it from there.
All right, man. Cool. Thank you.